So, order of operations. Okay. What's the first thing that I need to do with that expression? First operation, the first number I get in the calculation. I'm just going to do this one number at a time. Well, what are your choices? You want to add the 5 and the 4 first? Let's see why not. Okay. Yeah, I do see why not. Let me do one more thing. Okay, now I've changed it a little bit. Okay. So, next thing you do. Are you going to add the 4 and the 2? Some people want to do that. That's the first thing. Why don't you do it? Because you got to do multiplications before you do additions. Now that's something that people typically are pretty good with at this point. Okay? Don't have too much trouble with order of operations in a pre-calculus class. But you know, here we're doing intermediate algebra, so we've got to be sure that we have this done right. Okay, but even when I was teaching everything online, I did that from about 1997 through 2015 or 16. And lots of students. And even students in the lowest level college class, like the liberal arts math class, doesn't require a whole lot of mathematics, a whole lot of prerequisites. I mean, it's got some, obviously, but really didn't have much trouble with it. So let's make sure that nobody does have trouble. Okay, so this is well, everything is so pretty and I had to mess it up. Anyhow, there it is. Right? Okay, what's the next thing I'm going to have to do? Am I going to, sorry? No, let's actually, I've asked you not to respond, so. Am I going to, just tell me, nod your head. You're going to do 3 plus 7? Well, I already used up that 3 by multiplying it by 2, right? So am I going to do 7 divided by 5, or am I going to do 5 plus 4? Yeah. How many think 7 divided by 5? How many think 5 plus 4? Yeah, you're right. Everybody seems to understand this pretty well. So we got 4 plus 6. Now, what is 7 divided by 5? Punch that into your calculator, tell you 1.4. We're not going to do a lot with decimals in this course. Okay? I mean, they're important. You know, we do percents, you're going to be doing decimals. Decimals. The decimals, okay? Can't talk about decibels until you get the logarithms, and that's late in pre-calculus. Okay. 7 divided by 5, we're going to express that as 7/5. That's what it means. Now, the reason we don't do a lot with decimals is because if you do this in symbols, you don't know what the decimal of that symbol. You know, if the symbol is x over y, you can't express that as a decimal. You got to express it in fractional form, rational form. Okay? And then plus 4. Now what do you do next? You gonna do 4 plus 6 first? Could you do 7/5 plus 4 if you wanted to first? Does it matter which one you do first? No, they're all additions, so you can do them in any order. If you got all multiplications, you can do them in any order. Now, if you got multiplications and divisions, a string of multiplications and divisions with no adding or subtracting, you got to do them in order. Okay? So the rule is multiplications and divisions in order, left to right. Anyhow, so, and now you can do, let's say that's 10, and that's 27/5. So you could add these two and add these two if you wanted to. Or you could have added the 6 and the 7/5, that'd be 37/5, okay?
I'm
Still.
good, how are you doing?
And that gives you then 77/5. And everything we did here is compatible with what you do if these are symbols. Yeah, I've got time to do symbols, so let's do one with symbols. Okay? Let's take A plus B times C plus D divided by E plus F. Now, there's not much to do with the symbols, but if you want to write this out clearly and show what gets done first, just to be sure you've got it right, because that's just a string of symbols. It's kind of hard to parse it to understand what it's saying, right? It's not that hard. You can do it. If you do this, you could do this. But we're going to write this as A then times plus, and B times C. I'm just going to write as BC. And then plus D over E plus F. And all I really did there was I just grouped the B and the C together because that's got to be done first. You know to do what's in parentheses first. I think everybody knows that. I don't need parentheses around D over E because I just wrote that as a fraction. Now that I've written this as a fraction, how am I going to add all this? Well, it's a little messier than the problems that you did for homework, but you should understand that I can just do this. I can say that this is A over 1 times E over E plus BC over 1 times E over E plus D over E plus F over 1 times E over E. Why did I do that? Because now all of my denominator is going to come out E. Okay? Now having assigned multiplication and division of fractions, that comes a little later. Because there are other things that we need to do first. I think it may even be a couple of weeks. But multiplication and division of fractions is easier than addition and subtraction. Because you don't have to worry about common denominators. Okay? Got to worry about common factors, but you know we can delay that until there's a good place to insert it in the sequence. So now we have AE over E plus BCE over E plus D over E plus FE over E. Okay? Now, what can we do? What's the next step? I want you to say. Incidentally, I could be doing this through Zoom. Okay? But that means I have to set up a laptop with a camera here somewhere in the way. But I can pause a Zoom recording. I can't pause this. I gotta stop the recording every time I want people to answer verbally. Okay, well, hopefully you see that now we have the same denominator, so we can just add numerators. Okay? And now we might want to factor E out of these three terms, put it in a little different form and stuff, but we're not talking about that yet. Okay? There's more that we could do with this, but we don't have to. Just depends on what form we want to see. So, just an example and an application of what you've learned this last time, or what you've refreshed, because you probably already knew it. What we learned about adding fractions, okay? In the context of order of operations.